Well, hi everybody. I just wanted to take a few minutes to show you a little bit more about the Restoration Edition scriptures. As you know, we've talked a lot recently about the leather-bound scriptures, and we're all excited about them, and you know, it's been a long road to get here. And now that we're here with these marvelous prototypes in hand and we're ready to place orders, we thought it would be a good idea to share a video with you so that you could see what the color options are, what the different skins and leathers are like, and that way when you go onto scriptures.shop, when you go to place your order for your scripture sets and your companion journals that are also available, you'll have a good idea of what you're getting. You'll have a good idea of what you will be getting when they get delivered, and hopefully you'll be able to make a better informed decision. Well, we've had some open houses along the way as well. We've had people come to open houses in Salt Lake area and also in the Boise area as recently as last weekend in the general conference that was here in the Boise area. We've had hundreds of people hold these prototypes that we have here to show you, and we've had many comments come in, and people, I think by and large, have been very happy with the choices that we have. But for those of you that have not been able to attend the open houses or couldn't make it to the conference, well, we've got this opportunity to show you a little bit more about these amazing books and give you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about how they're made and what the differences are between the different covers and the colors and so forth. So I wanted to start out actually talking with you a little bit about the construction of the books. The first thing is I wanted to show you this. This is a single piece of paper, and you can see that it folds, and as you unfold it, you'll notice that there is printing. Each one of these printed areas is a page. And so page 7 and page 10 are side by side, page 11, page 6, page 13, or sorry, page 14 and page 3 upside down on the other side of this. And actually, if you flip it over, you'll notice that the same pattern is here, but now it's page 1 and 16 and page 13 and 4. This pattern of printing these pages in this particular way makes it so that when you actually fold this like that, then each one of the pages ends up in the right place. So page 1, and then on the back of page 1 is page 2, and so on all the way down to page 16. What's really nice about this is it makes it so that we can do a specific kind of binding called Smith sewn binding. And that means that these individual pages, which are known as signatures when they're folded like this, these signatures get sewn into a book. In fact, I have a book block here to show you. This is called a book block. And what it is it's a whole lot of these signatures that are all sewn together. And you can see right here that there's a whole lot of these signatures that are individually sewn in here. And you can kind of run your fingernail or your thumbnail in between those just barely, because this book block isn't finished yet. But it will be finished, or it would be finished if we were going to make this into an actual book. This is just here to show you the quality of construction that is involved in making a book like what we're doing. You might remember that what we're really trying to do is make books that are going to last a long time. Not only that are made of the finest materials and that will hold up through heavy use and will look good and feel good and really be worth not just the money that we pay, but really be worthy of the Word of God that's inside of them too. We want them to be the best that they can be, inside and out. And so we have gone to great lengths to find the very best manufacturer in the world that can do this for us. And so what I'm about to show you here are prototypes, and they all have this one thing in common, that they're all bound together like what you see in front of you here. All these things are stitched on a Smith sewn binding machine. It's like a special sewing machine for books. And after they're stitched together like this, then the book block is trimmed on a special machine that does that, and then it gets reinforced. It gets actually squeezed in a very powerful vise, and then once it's been squeezed and glued, then they put this special bookbinding cloth on the back, and what that makes is a book block that is very, very strong. It'll last a long time, and the pages won't come out. It's not like a perfect bound book or any of those other books that we, for example, the ones we got from Amazon, that the pages would occasionally come out of and so forth. That won't happen with these because they're folded and sewn, and that's the way that books, especially high-end books, have been made, well, for many, many years, more than 100 years. And it's tried and true, and it works well, and so that's why we went with this type of a binding method. Another thing to note is that the paper inside of these is 100% cotton. It's more like a fabric, really, than paper. It is thin, but it's also opaque, and it feels really nice. It looks great, and probably most importantly, the paper itself is archival quality. It doesn't contain any bleaches or any other chemicals, and because it's 100% cotton, it will last and last and last. This is the type of paper, it's among the finest Bible paper in the world. This type of paper will probably outlast you and me, and it's the same type of paper that has been used for centuries to make books that will last a long, long time. So archival quality paper, a really great book block. In fact, I want to show you something interesting. If you take this book block and slam it on the table, which maybe I should go ahead and do a couple times, just for fun. Hey, you know, if you slam it on the table and then you go look, you'll notice that none of the signatures have come out of place. None of the individual pages have come loose. The stitching, the sewing has not come loose. This book block is in great shape even if it gets abused, and that's because of the quality of the binding and the quality of the construction. So, anyway, enough about the book blocks. I'm going to set these aside for a minute, and the main question that most of you have asked is, what are the skins made out of? How do they look? What are the textures? How do they feel? So I'm going to go through those the best that I can here to show you as much of that as I can. A cover, a book cover, has two parts to it. There's the inside part, which is actually right here. You'll notice that this has a detail line, which is embossed gold foil, and this will actually be the inside of the book, so it'll go like that, and the cover would go on the outside, whether that cover is leather or polyurethane. This inner lining is made of what they call polyurethane, PU leather. PU leather has come a long, long ways over the last few years. This is very, very high quality. It'll probably outlast the rest of the book, as a matter of fact, because it doesn't deteriorate over time like leather and other natural materials do. It's very soft, it's comfortable, it's very flexible, as you can see, and so all of the high-end, most expensive, best-built books in the world use PU leather in their liners. On the other side of that, you can see we have in essence, a clear PVC insert. It's about 120 microns thick. PVC is a type of plastic, and the reason they do that is to provide a little bit of stiffness, a little bit of, I don't know what the right word is, so that it's not going to be floppy in your hand. You know, it gives it just a little bit of body. Well, that is what goes on the inside of the cover. The outside of the cover, of course, is what you see here. So if you look on the inside, you'll see that same polyurethane lining. And all of these books have been stitched and detailed by hand. And it takes leather work of great skill to be able to really make a very high quality book like this. The other things to point out here are the hinge itself is well made and should last a long time. In fact, well, our target was to get a hinge that would last 100 years, but our bookbinder says that these are the finest hinges that they've ever made, and they may very well last 300 years or more. So we're very happy about the quality of the construction, and I hope you can see that here. Now, the covers themselves and the gilding and so forth, a word about the gilding probably first. Gilding is the gold that is put onto the edges of the pages. It's applied as a foil with a very special adhesive that will keep the gold and the metallic gold attached to and adhered to the edges of the book. Why do they do that, by the way? We've had that question asked of us quite a bit. And the answer is because it keeps insects out, it keeps all kinds of negative things from affecting the book, like, for example, humidity or weather or moisture or damage from, if you hit the edge of the book with your fingers or with other sharp objects or whatever. It doesn't, in essence, it protects the inside of the book. It keeps dirt and dust out. And so that's why they've been putting gilding on book edges for many hundreds of years. And it generally does a very nice job of protecting the book. These gilded edges also are rounded, not beveled, but these are full radius rounded edges, which are complex and difficult to do to get right. But when they're done, they look really, really great. Also, one other thing to note is that the headbands, that's this particular little part of the book right here, where the edges of the pages come together and are sewn. There's a little band that's put there. These bands are made of suede. They're not sewn cloth or paper like they are in lower quality books. So in every respect, these are some of the finest books that have ever been made, and probably the finest set of scriptures that's ever been produced. And that was really our goal, to get the very finest covers, the finest materials, the best binding, everything that we could do to make these Restoration Edition scriptures the very, very best. So now let's talk about the covers. This particular cover right here is goatskin, and the color is black, of course. The way that you can tell it's goatskin is you can see that there's a lot of grain on this. It's not quite as much grain as a basketball would have, for example, but it does have a nice texture to it. A lot of people call this pebbled or marbled. However you would describe it, it has a nice leather feel to it. Now, this is some of the finest goatskin in the world. The company that is actually making the leather covers for us is the oldest leather manufacturer in India. And they, not only do they manufacture for a lot of high-end products that you've probably heard of before, but they also happen to have a guy who is running the factory who is very interested in our project. And he personally wants to pick out, to hand select every skin that they're going to be using in these books. The reason that he wants to do that is because we are not pressing grain or plating or stamping fake or artificial grain onto this leather. This is 100% natural grain, which means that any blemish or flaw, anything that's irregular about it would be noticeable. And so he is visually inspecting and selecting only the very finest leather for these books. And so anyway, I just thought I'd point that out. This goatskin you can also see here in tan. This is called British tan. It's kind of an orangish, it's not really an orange color, but it has a little bit of orange hint to it. It's still a tan, but it's that beautiful British tan color that's pretty well known. And as you can see, the covers on these are very flexible. You can pretty much roll them up. The books themselves open very nicely, and I don't know if the camera can show this, but the cover is actually flat, while the book itself lays open very nicely. And after this book is broken in, you'll notice, by the way, there's no printing on these because these are demonstration copies, prototypes really. But the pages will lay flat after the book is broken in, and you should take a few minutes and break in your books, by the way, after you get them, and we will have some instructions on how to do that, included with every one of the book sets. So you'll notice that there are ribbons also 3 ribbons in this book. These ribbons here on the prototypes are green. The actual ribbons that you get will be gold to match the gilding and to match the detail line around the inner lining here. So another nice thing about this particular kind of cotton paper and the combination of that and the book block and the leather and the gilding and everything is that the book itself is very, very flexible. You can take this book and you can bend it backwards even if you want to. You can hold it in one hand and be able to read very nicely. It doesn't flop around because of that little bit of PVC insert that's inside, but it's very comfortable and very nice to hold. It really is just an amazing book. And because the leather is 100% top grain, all natural, it's not going to peel. And because it's very finely stitched around the edges, I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not, but there's very fine stitching that goes all the way around the edges there. That's all done by hand by expert craftsmen who do this, counting the stitches on a machine all the way around the corners and everything. That will keep the cover from separating from the book and help it to last a very long time. Now let's see if we can get a closer look at the grain here. I'm just going to try and hold that up and see if the light can reflect just right off of that. I'll also probably ought to show you the black one that way so that you can maybe even get a better sense of that grain with the reflection off the lights. Okay, another thing that people have asked about is, hey, what are the covers on the outside going to look like? Well, we're not going to put any gold embossing on the outside like what you see here with this book that I brought. This is Edgar Allan Poe, his poems and stories and so forth. As you can see, this is a leather-bound book, and there's a lot of gold embossing, gold foil embossing, both on the spine and on the front. We're not going to do that. We want these scriptures to be kind of understated, one more bespoke look, really. And so for that reason, we're doing what's called blind embossing. And what that means is that they are tooling into the leather the name of the book. And so there won't be any gold foil in there, but when it's done, that's what it will look like. I don't know if you can see that, if I just kind of hold on to that right there. All right, in addition to the black and the British tan that we have, we will also have 4 other colors that are available. One of them is a natural color, which is the natural color of the lambskin or the goatskin or the water buffalo. And that natural color is a very light tan. It involves no actual dyeing. When the tanning is done, they just don't add any dye to it. They leave it the natural color of the skin. I don't have a prototype or a sample of that color to show you, or I would. So you just have to kind of imagine that one. We also have a color called cognac, which is a deep reddish brown, and we're going to show you that here in a minute. These are the other 2 colors. This is a blue, and that's a red, obviously. And so the scriptures will come in those 6 colors. This color of blue, that color of red, black, British tan, natural, and cognac. All right, so this is the lambskin. This is the British tan color of the lambskin. The lambskin is very soft. It's like glove leather. It's very supple and just looks great. Feels great. It has very little texture. I'll see if I can kind of show you right here a little bit about this texture. One of the things about lambskin, as I kind of hold it up here, is that it will, because it's so soft, it will take on some scuffs, some scuff marks. You know, it will show signs of wear and use over the time that you have it. It will become really rather personal, is what they is the word that they use to describe it. Personal because it will absorb and show oils from your skin, from your hand, from holding the book, from reading it, and so forth. As you interact with this lambskin leather, it will interact with you. And of course, the same world-class book block will be inside, but the leather itself on the outside is extraordinarily soft. It's like glove leather. It's just marvelous to hold. So this is much softer, of course, than the goatskin that we talked about a minute ago. Here's the black version of this. And again, as you take a look at that, you'll notice that the grain is very, very subtle, almost not there at all. It's very smooth. And because it's so smooth, it just is a different experience holding the lambskin than it is the goatskin. The goatskin is what many high-end, very expensive Bibles are made out of because the goatskin lasts a long, long time. It has very long fibers in it. The lambskin probably won't last as long as the goatskin. If you take good care of it, it'll of course last a very, very long time. But most people expect lambskin book to last 50 years, maybe 100 years. But goatskin, you know, could last indefinitely, more than 100 years probably if you take good care of it. As the book binder said to me, he says, "You will be gone and I will be gone. The book will be here." So they should outlast us. In any case, this is very soft, it's very inviting, and again, with the blind embossing on it, that's what it will look like right there. And one other thing to know about this is because the lamb is soft, the embossing itself will become a little bit lighter over the years. The embossing itself will, because of the softness of the lamb, will kind of fade over time. But because you handle the book, especially in the lighter colors, you'll notice that there's going to be a little darker discoloration that appears in there as it personalizes, and it'll look more and more antique over time. So these books should age very nicely, and it's just a marvelous experience to hold. And so anyway, I hope that gives you a pretty good view of lambskin. All right, let's take a look at these. Cognac and black are the two examples I have right here of water buffalo. Now, the water buffalo is quite a bit different than the other two leathers that we've looked at already. The water buffalo is rather rigid. It's rather stiff. It's kind of shiny. In fact, let me see if I can show you that here. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. But the grain is very much like that of a high-end briefcase or high-end boots. It's rather shiny and durable. One person said it's like the Kevlar of leathers. It's very durable, long-lasting. They make saddles out of it. They make bags and all kinds of things that require a heavy leather. Now, the leather itself isn't, like the book is not, you know, noticeably heavier than, for example, lamb or goatskin. But the leather is fairly stiff, and you can tell that by holding it. Now, this color is called cognac. I mentioned that a little earlier. This cognac color is kind of a reddish brown, and I don't know if you can really tell that hue as beautifully in the camera as it is in person. But in person, this is just absolutely gorgeous. And again, if you put the embossed spine on there, you can get a picture of what this will look like. The buffalo, one of the unique things about it is that it'll come in both a soft leather like this that's somewhat flexible. It's less flexible than the other two covers, but it's still a flexible, soft book to hold and very, very substantial and feels very nice. It's somewhat masculine, and it's a beautiful and durable leather, of course, but not just this softback, but also hardback book. Again, I'm going to bring this other hardback book over here to kind of give you an example of what a hardback leather-bound book looks like. It's hard like this. It has a board inside of it so that the actual cover doesn't fold or bend, not like this one can. And these hardbacks are more designed to be put on a shelf and used in a library setting or a seminary or as a reference type set of books. Whereas the soft ones are perfect for reading every day and studying and for daily use. And in fact, these could probably sit on a shelf just fine. If you set them up like this, they'll sit up on your bookshelf just fine too. But because we have a hardback option available, some of you may wish to have a hardback set that you can put up on a shelf and use for reference. Maybe you get a set that you'll read for your daily use and write in and mark up, and maybe the set on the shelf in the library would maybe be a reference version or something like that. Whatever suits you, of course. All right, the next one I want to show you is called Nubuck. Nubuck is what they call the top layer of leather. So leather can be split into multiple layers. The top layer and then the under layer under that are substantially different. The underside layer, when it's properly prepared, is known as suede. And you've probably experienced or felt suede leather before. This is a similar feeling to suede, but it isn't suede. Nubuck is the top layer. It's much more durable than suede. It's much more long-lasting than suede. Our Nubuck scriptures are actually made of goatskin, so it's the top layer of the goatskin. And it's velvety, and you can kind of see as I run my fingers over it that it has that velvety look. You can also tell that if you handle it a lot, it's going to get shiny right along the spine here, and it will absorb oils from your fingers and so forth. And this book will personalize as well, just like the lambskin will. In fact, it'll probably personalize even more. The Nubuck is very nice to hold, and because it's soft and velvety, it's very different than any other set of scriptures that you've probably ever seen or held before. Many of the people who feel this and hold this are taken by it because it's so soft and so different and so inviting. Some people hold this and say, no, I don't want scriptures that feel like suede, and they prefer something that's a little bit more traditional. But you got a choice here, and so if this appeals to you, then that's great. This only does come in one color, by the way, this charcoal, kind of a deep brown, almost black hue of charcoal. The other books all come in all 6 of the colors that we mentioned before. All right. Lastly, this book is made of polyurethane. This is PU leather, not just on the inside, but also the cover on the outside. This feels just like lambskin. In fact, it's so identical that you really can't tell the difference. I've had people think that this was lambskin and start talking about how soft and marvelous it is, and then I tell them, well, actually, this one isn't lambskin, this one's polyurethane, and they're like, wow, that polyurethane is amazing. Not only is it good for kids, doesn't absorb water, it's going to be very long lasting, but it's also very flexible and it's comfortable to use. So especially if you're going to be really using these and throwing them in a bag, throwing them in a purse, taking them around with you, this cover will last and hold up a long, long time. And you don't have to worry about spilling water on it or something. It'll just bead and roll right off. So you'll notice that this particular prototype is white. The edges are not gilded or rounded on this prototype. But if you order polyurethane, then you will have gilded edges and rounded corners, and the edges will be sewn just like the other leathers. And you really won't be able to tell the difference between this and the lambskin, except you'll know what you ordered. Other than that, they're going to be virtually identical. If you can see the texture on this, you'll notice it does look very much like the lambskin. Again, it's very soft, it's comfortable, very nice to hold. It does, just like the other books, lay absolutely flat, and this binding is marvelous. The pages stay nice and flat when you open the book. This book has not been broken in yet. After it's broken in, they will even flatten out more. Okay, a couple of other things to cover. This comes in all the different colors, the 6 colors that we mentioned before that the other scriptures come in. This should last a very long time, at least as long as the other leathers. So let's talk about the price. All of these scripture sets are the same price. They're $99, and that includes shipping in the United States. There is one set, though, that's $10 more because the Nubuck is a more expensive leather to produce. Even though it's not tanned and doesn't have any of the chemical treatment that comes along with tanning, because it is a more difficult leather to make, because it's not tanned, then the process of dyeing it and everything causes the value and the cost to be a little bit higher. So those are $109, the $10 more. But all the rest of them are $99, except the paperbacks, I think, are $79. Now, paperback is the same as all of the other ones, except the cover is made of paper and not leather, and that's the only real difference. The edges are not gilded, and they're not rounded, so it'll look like a paperback book, but the book block will still be that same amazing quality, world-class quality book block that I showed you before. The hardbacks are also the same price at $99. A lot of people are surprised by this because hardback leather books tend to be a lot more expensive. But what we tried to do was get all of these to be made because they're being special ordered and custom made. We wanted to try and have the prices not be an issue, not have some of them be way more expensive than the others. So all of the options that we have and the way that they're all being made is the same, except for only those differences that I've pointed out. And that way we've been able to keep the cost pretty consistent. All right, a couple of other details to talk about here. In addition to the scripture sets themselves, which will be 3 books for each set, be the Old Covenants, the New Covenants, and the Teachings and Commandments, which incidentally does include the glossary that's in the appendix of the Teachings and Commandments. So these 3 books that we're printing here on this cotton paper will be the same contents as the 6 books that you can get on scriptures.shop right now. But because it's only 3 books, then the price is actually lower than what it would cost you to buy the paperbacks. And for books of this quality, to be able to have them come in at a price that's lower than paperback or standard hardbacks is really pretty amazing. In addition to the scriptures themselves as sets, you can also get journals that are going to be matching journals. So, for example, if you get a British tan goatskin set of scriptures, you could order a British tan goatskin journal to go with it. And the journal pages will be made of the same material. It'll be 400 pages to write on, and they'll be very, very lightly lined with a very light gray printing on there. So that if you want to sketch or draw or something, the lines won't be in your way, but most people like to have lines on their journals. So you can add on journals, and you can add on any number of them that you want along with your scriptures. And we hope you'll take advantage of this because this is an opportunity for you, in a sense, to write your own scriptures, in a sense to take your own personal experiences as you're reading and pondering and learning from the scriptures, and whatever insights, revelations, marvelous discoveries, aha moments, all those things that happen as a result of studying the Restoration Edition scriptures, you can capture in your journal right alongside the scriptures and pass those down to your children, maybe even your grandchildren. And you know, we've made these books so that they can last long enough that they should be able to be passed down. All right, ever since we opened the scriptures.shop website up for ordering, we've had a consistent flow of orders, and we're so grateful for that. we are doing this in a way that's kind of unique. We're pre-ordering the scriptures because what we want to do is aggregate all the orders together, put them into one big order, and place that single order for all the custom-made stuff with the publisher. And that order, the bigger it is, obviously, the better it is in terms of the price and the turnaround time and everything else. Everything gets better and better if we can get a larger and larger order. So what we're hoping to do is to gather as many orders as we can by October 15th. And it'll be the evening of October 15th when we close down that order window. And at that point, the next day, we will tally up all the different colors and skins and everything, and we'll put together that order and get it ready to place with the publisher. And they will start ordering all the paper and all the leather and get ready to start printing the books. What that means is that you really do need to get your order in by October 15th. And after October 15th, if you haven't placed an order, then we do anticipate we will have some books remaining because we're going to, we have a certain minimum that we have to meet, and so whatever the number of scripture sets are below that minimum that we are at the time that the order window closes, we will make up that difference by ordering some scriptures that will just be standard sets. They won't be custom made. They, you won't be able to choose, for example, your own skin or your color or anything like that after October 15th. And if we end up with 300 sets or 100 sets or 50 sets or whatever the number is that's on the shelf, well, after these get delivered and they're available, then we'll make those available along with, delivering the scriptures that have been ordered. And when they're out, they're out. And that will be the end of that particular first edition, that first run. We don't know if we're ever going to do another run. The bottom line is that in order to justify placing another very large order with the publisher, what we have to do is have enough demand for people to be able to place enough orders to make that work. And we don't know if that's going to happen again, maybe next year or the year after or 5 or 10 years from now, and maybe it will, and maybe it won't. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you have interest in getting a set of scriptures, well, now's the time to do it. The price is fantastic. The quality is fantastic. Everything that we wanted in the scriptures and in the covering and so forth has come together so nicely, and we're so grateful for all the help that we've received in getting this project done. If you would take a minute to think about people in your life, perhaps that may appreciate these, may desire them, maybe some people that you know who are not quite ready for them, but you would like to have them on hand so that you can give a gift in the future or something. You might want to think about that, children and grandchildren and so forth. After you've thought about that, then go ahead and place your order on scriptures.shop. You will find when you go there on scriptures.shop that there are 2 ways that you can pay for the order. One is by check or money order, and the other is by PayPal, which also enables you to take credit cards or to pay by credit card, also debit card and so forth. If you choose to send in a check, then you can send that check to Restoration Archive, that's P.O. Box 37, Star, Idaho 83669. And also that address will be in your confirmation email and on the records that get sent to you. And also we will notify you if we don't receive your check or your money order within 10 days, we'll let you know. Otherwise, once you do place the order, please do drop that check or money order in the mail to us so that we can get that and apply it to your order. If you pay by PayPal, which is credit card or debit card, then you don't need to mail us anything. You'll get a confirmation immediately from PayPal that your payment's gone through, and you'll be all set. Because these are all custom-made and special-made items, they will take a while to make. We have to order a very large amount of a very special kind of paper, and we have to get all the covers made. It's going to take a team of 15 people 3 weeks just to make the covers. And so there's a lot of work that goes into actually making these books. So what we're anticipating at this point is that after we close the order window in the middle of October, then we will place the order, and it will take a couple of months for the order to start being made, because they have to get the paper, they have to get all the supplies and get everything together. Then they will start making the books. What that means is that they will probably ship to us in February. And because they'll be coming across the ocean, it does take a while for that to arrive. So probably in March is when we estimate right now we will receive those and start shipping them out. Okay, beyond that, I think the last thing we need to cover is delivery. So for those of you who live in the Salt Lake City area or in the Boise area, we're going to have the scriptures and journals delivered to a location where you can go pick them up. And so that will save some time. You'll get them faster. It'll also save us some cost. And so it's kind of a win-win for everybody if you're willing to do that. And if you're close enough that you can drive in, we will notify you when they'll be available and where to go to pick those up. If you're not in the Salt Lake City area or the Boise area, then we will ship those to you inside the United States. That shipping cost has already been included in the cost of the scriptures and the journals. All right, for those of you who live outside the United States or will have your scriptures shipped outside the United States, please be aware that international shipping is expensive and that there are some extra steps that are involved sometimes. Depends on what country you're in. So at the time that you place your order, if you're going to have them shipped outside the United States, then the website has programmed into it all of the shipping rates to all the different countries. So it should calculate the correct amount of shipping for you, and that'll be added to the cost on your order. Please also be aware that when the books arrive in your country, depending on what country you're in, you may be responsible to pay some tariffs or duties or taxes or other things. And so you may want to get familiar with that, maybe search the internet or Google a little bit to find out what your responsibilities would be for ordering books from the United States into your country. If tariffs or duties have to be paid, they will be your responsibility. We're not going to pay those out of our own pocket. Of course, that would be something that you'd need to take care of. And if you have any questions on any of this, on any of the ordering, on the leathers themselves, on the colors, on shipping, delivery, anything of that nature, feel free to reach out. There's a contact form on scriptures.shop. You can get a hold of us and we'll do our best to answer your question and get back to you promptly. None of us are making any money on this project. In fact, we anticipate we will probably lose money on these, and that's fine because really we're doing this as a sacrifice. We're doing this as a gift to God and to everyone that's going to be ordering these scriptures. A lot of time and effort has gone in to getting them ready, and we just hope that by the time we get them in our hands that all the work will have been worth it, and I think that it will have been. So thank you for taking some time to learn more about the Restoration Edition Scriptures. And now that we've completed this video, we hope that you'll head on over to scriptures.shop where you'll find all the different options available, and you'll also be able to make a donation if you want. There are two kinds of donations that you can do there. One is to donate a set of scriptures to someone who is in need, and another is to make a donation to the foundation itself, which, if you do, will be used not only to help those in need in terms of being able to get scriptures into their hands, but also help to offset some of the costs involved with things like shipping and things like managing the website and so forth. So we appreciate all of your willingness to help, and anything that you're able to do to donate either scriptures or cash would be greatly appreciated as well. So thank you again for spending some time with us. We hope that you've enjoyed this video about the Restoration Edition leather-bound scriptures.